Hello, my name is Shore as well. I'm the sports editor of The Sun. Today I'm joined by Fiona Murray, who is running to be AU president. Fiona, thank you for joining us. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Thanks for having me.
So can you just want to tell us a bit about yourself and what you've been up to in your time as Andrews sports-wise?
Okay, well, sports-wise, I have been very much involved with the basketball club since the get-go. I was invited up to pre-season before I started, so that was very much the track I was always going to go down. My second year was a social rep, which really let me learn more about the club, like on a small level, but I talked to so many people throughout that time, so by my third year I went up to become vice president. The basketball club's a mixed club, so the committee is male and female, so whenever the president is male, the vice president has to be female, so from then I kind of took charge of the female side of the club, and then this year I've been the president, so I've very much looked after the club as a whole, focusing mostly on the female but having a lot of influence on the male side as well.
Okay, right, so was there any particular incident you think this year that really inspired you to become AU president? Or?
I don't know if it would be a particular incident this year. Every year I've attended AU hustings, and every year I sit there and I go, oh, like, this isn't, like, for the first 2 years it wasn't contested. Ben Petty ran uncontested, Sarah Thompson ran uncontested, and I was like, this seems like something that if you're in charge of a sports club, you should be able to do the same sort of thing. It's replicated on a much larger scale, undeniably. So I think I watched those first 2 years and I was like, this is something that I could definitely do. And then last year, obviously, it was the first time I saw a contested race, and obviously it was very close between them. So I think it was a combination of seeing that all throughout the years. It was like, this is something that I can do. And then I heard that there was going to be a lot of people this year, and I was like, that shouldn't put me off. Like, the fact it's a contested race makes it better. We have to work harder to be more original. And like, it's been great so far, but yeah, it's definitely an ongoing thought process I've had.
So do you think there's why do you want to be AU president then, in that sense? Building off your experience of thinking you can do it, is there anything you want to give back particularly, or? Well,
I think because the basketball club has changed so much in the time that I've been here alone. It's become a performance sport since my being here, but it's still only the women's first team that is technically a performance sport. The whole question of performance sport is obviously like a big one, but I've managed the men's side of thing where I can see that they feel that they're disadvantaged because they're not a performance sport. They often think that the women's team get a lot more, but in reality it's not really. And I have a lot of friends who are in different clubs, different presidential positions, and there's a lot of clubs that still feel like they're not fully represented, that they don't get the recognition or the support from the AU that they need. I think it's this understanding that like there's like no continuity across the whole clubs that's really made me think that I can do is I have this understanding of all the different clubs and I think that I have the right points that can push them forward to get an equal playing field as such.
Yeah, going over your manifesto, there's really a sense of of equal opportunity, I think is how you put it.
Yeah.
That's something you really want to put back. Obviously, you mentioned it's a loaded field. We've got 4 candidates for AU president.
Yeah.
Is there anything in particular that you think that you offer that perhaps the other candidates don't offer in particular, or?
I think we've all got quite a lot of similar points. Honestly, I think if you go first, you're lucky. You sound like you're original. But really, I have a lot of focus on mental health and well-being in my manifesto. A couple of the others mention it as well, but not on the same scale that I do. It is something that I really would like to push. I've spoken with the union as well, and I've heard that there's been attempts in the past to really get the athletic union involved in mental health support, and they've asked me specifically like, why should we believe that you're going to be any different? And I think it is because it is one of my main pushing points, and the fact that the union are continuously saying this stuff, like, well, we've tried and we've not gotten back, it really like hits it home a bit harder as well. I feel like this is the movement that the AU will need, because it is something that's very important. This kind of my point surrounding clarification as such. I call it transparency, but that's such a buzzword, but it's this clarification of how things run. Like I said before, there's a lot of contention surrounding performance sport criteria. and I'm not promising that I will be able to create a performance sport criteria,
Yeah.
but I want
Something
it to
that
be.
pushes.
I want-
Sorry, Tom Abbott, he's really tried to push.
Yeah, he
that,
has
so
tried to push that forward, and he's been doing that all year. That was one of his main points, and we haven't gotten anywhere. So what I think it is, it's a case of clarifying why that is the case, if that makes sense. It all comes from the Department of Sport and stuff, and I think if this can be reiterated across the clubs, then the clubs that are currently striving to become a performance sport, but like maybe they're never actually going to get the opportunity, then we can learn to set them a goal that's actually achievable for them.
Yeah, I mean, you've talked about a couple of points in your manifesto.
Yeah.
You mentioned well-being. Since you brought up transparency, you're talking about the more information on finances, on the performance sport criteria, as we discussed,
Yeah.
the definitions of such, and this recognition of non-bucks related sports. How do you plan to communicate this information in a way that's presentable and attainable by everyone?
Yeah, so I really want to create equal communication throughout all clubs. Like Tom did a great job this year, I think, of really starting it off. I spoke to a lot of clubs who feel like they have had better communication with the AU than they have in the past, but I feel like it's only actually ever going to be achieved if it's felt throughout all clubs.
Yeah.
I know there's still clubs that feel like they're missing this communication link. So to answer your question in terms of how I'm getting this information across, if I'm able to create equal communication links with every club, then the information that I'm passing on should be the same to every club, so they can understand.
The transparency part of your manifesto then really does connect a lot to your communication.
Yeah, it's the transparency part. It really is it's an overarching link that brings it all together.
Yeah, you talk about several aspects in the communication. You talk about face-to-face meetings. You talk about sitting in on committees, various clubs when possible. You also talk a lot about committee training sessions.
Yes. So
how do you think these are going to work? How they're going to act out?
So currently the Athletic Union offer club committee forums. I think last semester they were roughly once a month, maybe we had 3 or 4 throughout that time. And I do think it is a great idea. They can offer some really beneficial things, but I think they're not executed in the best way. It's often in a very much a lecture sort of format, and it's not always applicable to all the people that are in the room. So, for example, there's such a range of clubs that one of the top performance sports teams who have great links to the Athletic Union already, have a director of sport who's controlling a lot of what they do, shouldn't necessarily be sitting in the same meeting of how to run a club as somebody who's just started a new sport, really doesn't know what they're doing, and needs something that's going to just increase membership and stuff. I think by separating these out into the specific issues, so for example, referees or transfer issues and stuff, and inviting clubs to attend if you think it's applicable, maybe having separate meetings for, so it's maybe having separate meetings for performance sports and up and coming clubs as well, just really separating it out.
Okay, so you'll separate between performance sports then and non-performance sports?
Well, not in all cases. So if it's it will be a division in terms of if this is relevant to you, then you'll be invited to come along.
But it will be an open invitation.
It'll be an open invitation to all clubs. I would like to highly recommend that certain clubs come along in specific instances.
Right. Okay, so that all makes sense. The kind of transparency and communication aspect of it. You talk really a lot about mental health, and I think that's something that's been a real hot topic of this election, particularly compared to last year. I think you talk about setting up closer links with a lot of between the AU and student services, especially in Doe. Do you think that the student services have the resources to extend what their work is currently to provide a consistent and top quality coverage for clubs in the AU?
So this is kind of why I've included the Doe in it as well. I've heard a lot about student services. It's in very high demand a lot of the time, and sometimes it's difficult to get a meeting with them and stuff. But really, the students that are a big part of the AU have access to the student services already. But I think it's just a case of, with the student services, getting this information across to the clubs more, just creating, even if it's just a link being if you're struggling, this is the student services. That's why I wanted to focus more on working with the DOL and with the union, because there's the Wellbeing Committee, there's I think it's called a Health and Exercise Representative, and they specifically work on creating initiatives that will implement the fact that sport and exercise is good for your well-being, and it helps with mental health and stuff like that. But from what I've heard and from people I've spoken to, they don't have that connection with the AU now. So I think initially by working with that representative through the Wellbeing Committee, that'll play a bigger part than working specifically with student services.
Okay, right, okay. Yeah, it's something that you really stress also.
Yeah.
Let's talk kit.
Okay.
Obviously there's been a bit of talk about, there was an announcement about the player there, I think. Something that you state in your manifesto has been, so I think it's first important to say, what has your experience been with kit in your time at the university?
So I came in just as O'Neill's was being brought in.
Right.
And as a first year, I didn't know what was going on. It was new kit, it was new and exciting for me. I bought all the kit, and then I was told, oh no, we're switching, you have to buy the whole new kit. And I was okay, and this new kit was very expensive. Women's basketball in particular, don't like player layer because they've only now just introduced women's basketball shorts, so we've been wearing men's basketball shorts, which are just unflattering if anything else. We've been playing in kit in the wrong colour for a year. I sorted this issue out maybe this time last year, and it took 10 months to get new kit in.
10 months?
Yeah.
That's all the longest I've heard.
Yeah, it's a very, very slow process. Everything takes ages. I don't know if I think player layer looks great, it looks professional. I like the fact that it's across the board, that when everyone wears their reporter zips, their blue jackets, it's a uniform and it does look smart, but I don't think we can continue with a company that fails again and again to provide what people need all the time.
You talk a lot about how you're going to put certain requirements in upon what you will be looking for. You talk about playing kit, outwear, delivery time, and accuracy. Something you also mentioned in your manifesto is about this panel you talk about. I think there's a couple of things I think that need to be clarified about it. So I think there's this idea that you have about core group of teams. I was wondering if you could clarify how this panel is going to be constituted and what do you mean by a core group of teams?
Okay, so what I kind of mean by that is I feel like we will never find a kit provider who will be able to provide for 60 different clubs. There's even the big names like Nike and Adidas, I don't think their range goes as far as the clubs do here.
Right.
So when I say a core kit provider, I'd like to provide someone that will set the set amount of goals for okay, this reaches as many clubs as possible, but then for the more specialised sports that need a company that will actually provide good quality equipment and outerwear or playing kit for them, we will set up links with specific providers for them so we can create a long-term relationship with them. So there's no set core, I don't have okay, I'm only going to find kit for this club, or it's just whoever can meet that initial demand, and then for the rest we can provide specialised.
We've not got much time. I just want to clarify one last aspect about this panel. So it's in terms of these core groups of teams, on the panel itself, is that particularly set?
I think there's maybe a bit of a miscommunication in that. And what I want to do, so obviously when the question of kit comes up, it's going to be June, July time by the time the player layer contract expires. So this is going to be at a time where it's an overlap between whoever the new candidate is and Tom. The core group of teams on the panel, the core group of teams I'll provide for and the panel will be a separate issue. It's going to be June, July time. So I would like to invite clubs to be on this panel. It might only be 3 representatives from a range, but it's a case of it's July. I don't know who's going to be available during that time as well. Which is why I also talk about once we maybe have 3 providers that the AU and the Department of Sport are happy with, we open this up to clubs via email and hear what they have to say as well, and definitely take that into consideration. Okay. More so than the panel as such.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I think we're running out of time, so we're going to just. I'll just offer this up to you as saying, is there anything that you'd like to say about yourself or your campaign, or why you think people should vote for you in particular, just as a closing remark?
I take a lot of inspiration from the fact that everybody here is very passionate about their sport. It's so nice to meet with different presidents and hear them have the same enthusiasm that I've had for the basketball club over the last few years. I think the fact that I can recognise this and really want to work with each club is what sets me apart. I have experience with a high performance sport as well as working with like lower end stuff as well, and it's this range that I really want to work with, and I think that's what would set me apart.
Great, well, thank you so much for joining with us. Best of luck in the election. This has been The Saint, reporting on the student elections. Thank you very much for joining us.